it wouldn't be an interview in Boulder City if we didn't talk a little bit about growth.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you your thoughts on how much are we reliant on people coming in versus getting, are we big enough to support the infrastructure without so much coming in? How much do we need to rely on our own people, and do we need to grow from your perspective? Does there need to be more growth to support our business infrastructure?
So I think because I've been a lifelong resident, I really believe in what Boulder City is and the way it was established. I think that we were very, very wise to plan for the future. In the 1960s, actually January 4th, 1960, when we were established as a legitimate city, it was extremely wise of our founders to think about, okay, we want to protect our resources. We want to put a shield kind of around what Boulder City has. We want to make sure that we are identified for who and what we are. Being able to share with people that we have a controlled growth community or a thoughtful growth community, that we have no gaming, those kinds of things resonate with people. They come here because of that. And so it makes us different. It makes us unique. It makes us that quaint Americana feel that we highlight. We use that in our marketing efforts. I think there's something to be said about that, and I want to protect that. I think thoughtful growth is exactly the direction we need to go. I think, though, that if we want to shut every door and not look at these different opportunities and not at least weigh our options, then we will become a bunch of mosquitoes in a stagnant pond. I don't think we can have that. The sheer economics tells you can't have that. If you don't have some type of economic growth and you have some type of energy that's building that tax base, that then means our personal taxes, property taxes, whatever has to go up in order to pay for public safety and schools and filling potholes. You have to have that, that cycle has to happen in order to keep the economic health of a community.
Do you think we're on track for that right cycle, or do you think we need to adjust the current ordinance?
I'm not a believer in touching the ordinances. I'm not feeling like that's the best way to go. I don't think we have explored and exhausted all the opportunities that we have now. You know, the Economic Vitality Commission was created as a way to be part of that thoughtful growth effort, to go after the things that fit, that are a good fit for our community, to look at the things that are, you know, right now we've been working very, very hard at trying to find a grocer, to try to find somebody that will come into Boulder City, understand what Boulder City, what the structure is, knowing that I-11 is coming and that a number of unit count will change on their storefront property. It's hard to get people to pay attention to that. Most of the grocery stores that we've talked to have said, oh, we're going to hold off and wait. They have a little bit of concern of what that will look like because they run on sheer numbers. You know, if it's not based on population, which most of the grocery stores won't even look at Boulder City because of the population.
Well, is there going to be an issue now? We have potentially, I don't know if it's a done deal, having the milk producer coming in there where Bonds was.
Yes.
Is that going to limit the fact that we won't have a spot for a grocery store?
Absolutely not. And I do want to kind of put that to rest. A lot of people have said, oh, don't use that storefront for Medilac that's coming in, which I am absolutely in love with, but don't use that storefront because now we have no place to put them. Well, I'd like to share with everybody that other grocers are not interested in that location, and the current owner had pretty much said we will not allow a grocery store to go here. And so with the way that was set up, we never identified it as our location. We have been looking at many other locations for potential grocery stores. They want to build. They want modern. They want to build to suit. They didn't want to go in and retrofit. And so it would have been so much more expensive. And so for them to go in and renovate a current location was not in anyone's wheelhouse. And so as we were putting this opportunity together and inviting people to come check it out, they weren't looking at that location. So the one that we have right now that has some interest, again, not looking at that location, wants to do their own build.
Oh,
so that has not been something that has scared them away. It's really kind of waiting to see what happens in the future, what will look like, and then a lot of those larger chains they operate on population, and we just didn't have it.
Well, and do you feel that our city, as both the people as well as the political structure as well as the employees within the city, do we have the right mixture to be a business friendly city? Do people feel like we're business friendly enough?
So I know that that has been a topic of conversation in the past, and so at one point in time we brought the developers and the redevelopers and some of those with the larger properties that had the ability to make some change. We put them all together in a room and said, look, we know there's some issues. What are they? If we were to take a wish list over to City Hall and ask them to make a difference, what would that be? And so these people in the room, they get it. They're the ones making a larger investment in this community. They're the ones that had to work with the permitting process. And from their suggestions, they made some major changes at City Hall. And it really has been a massive improvement. I'm just thrilled with one of their staff members that has really stepped to the plate. And so there have been some changes. I'm not going to say it has completely gone away, because you have to remember it works two ways. And so from the city's perspective, they've got an insurance pool, and they've got to also make sure that they're protecting future guests to your location. So there's a standard, and there are rules and laws set in place for a reason. And so we need to, much like the health department, they may not be our favorite, but they're there to protect us, and we have to be grateful for that too. And so I do see that that those circumstances need to be taken one-on-one. If you take it as a blanket, yeah, you get frustrated because there are some that just view the city as very difficult to work with. But I think when you narrow it down, what was the issue, and can we resolve that one particular issue versus just the blanket of, I don't think City Hall's friendly. I think that there are quite a few people at City Hall that have done amazing things to help the business community. I think as a whole, it's generally well perceived. Yes, there are some issues, and they tend to get blown out of proportion because once it gets out into the public, of course, the story changes a little bit as the game of telephone still exists. So I think we need to address those on an individual basis, and I am excited for the new city manager. He seems to be very open to hearing what those are. Has some really great ideas. I was very grateful to our interim city manager. He really got it. He understood, especially having come from Public Works. He knew what people were talking about. He had been part of the business community and the beautification effort. He really tried to help with the businesses and understood it. We've been pretty lucky. I mean, I worked clear back with the city manager when Vicki Mays was there. She held meetings with the business owners to try to find out what it is that you want. What are the concerns? So there's some people who are reaching out. Yeah, there's still some issues. There always are going to be. But I do think overall we have some leadership right now who care about the community, who care about businesses, want to make everything as doable as they possibly can.
Good. If you were queen of Boulder City for a day, and you could make any change related to that, is there one thing that you would go change tomorrow, or you would push to have changed tomorrow?
Well, I know that they are, I had just recently spoke with Brock Armature. I know that they're working on the business license process, making it a little easier for businesses to be able to get through the licensing process, having some way for the businesses to go online. If there was a software system within the city, if they had all the money in the world, that they could put a system in place so that the business owners who are making improvements or are doing some remodeling or doing startups, so that they could go online and see in the system where their plans are, if they've been approved, if they haven't. Are they downstairs in Public Works? Are they upstairs in the building department? Where are we in this process? That would be phenomenal from the city side of things, for those business owners to have that ability to kind of see where things are. Where's my license in the process? Where are my building
have to call
plans?
it up and have someone track it down.
Yeah, they, I know that that's probably one thing that we've had a lot of comments on. It would sure be nice. So if I could make that change, I know that it's expensive, but I can see that would be very beneficial. That would be an easy way to see that that exchange of information in a much easier fashion and make it easier for everybody. In the EBC hosts the one-on-ones. One-on-ones were created so that the business owner would have access to city leadership. So we
Okay.
bring one of the city council people, a representative, usually the city manager. Now it will be the community development director as well. One person from the chamber, one person from ABC. Those 5 community
Just so I know,
leaders.
EVC.
Economic Vitality
Oh,
Commission.
okay.
Sorry.
That's fine.
And so by having those 5 people come into the businesses, usually 5 to 6 businesses a month are how we're scheduled. This one coming up in April will be with all the home-based businesses. So the home-based business, they are a real key to this community that we kind of overlook. They don't have a storefront. They're not right there in your face because you're not driving by them every day. But those entrepreneurs are a huge asset to this community. And so how do they perceive business in Boulder City?
Oh,
So by
okay.
putting them in an opportunity to meet with those 5 community leaders, every business has the same 4 questions. We adopted this from the one-on-one process that the Henderson Development Authority does. So they have the same 4 questions. We ask of the business owner, and then the business owner has a chance to stump the panel and ask a question of anybody on the panel. And it's a good dialogue. It's a way for the businesses to see that those community leaders aren't untouchable. They do have the chance to meet with the mayor or one of the council people. They can sit there and have a conversation and dialogue with the city manager. And then the city manager can get to know these new businesses. The city council may never have even stepped foot in one of those businesses before. It puts them in connection. And so I don't want it to be a perception of them and us,
Right.
because it really isn't. We need them. We have to work with them. We want to work with them. That's how we're better, is when we have that two-way dialogue. When there's a shutdown and a disconnect, nothing gets done. It's not positive for anybody. So keeping that dialogue open, that's why Think Tank became so important. It gave everybody a voice. That's why these one-on-ones are important. It gives everybody a voice. It allows everybody to connect. And so I think that's essential. I think that's one of the assets to having a Chamber of Commerce in a community, is having a champion for those businesses, a convener for making these things happen, and open that communication.
Very good.